Welcome back to the Always Right podcast. I'm author Carissa DeLay.
I don't know. I make stupid faces. I'm author Jaime Vendera.
It was a funny face.
Yeah. All right.
My Riverside is acting up. Like, it keeps changing the shapes and like dimensions of the recordings space, and I'm like, what is happening?
Huh. Okay. And you're on a MacBook, right?
Mm-hmm.
It don't have that setting to where it can like focus in and out on you turned on, does it?
No, it's never done that before. It was just doing it this morning. Maybe because
Okay.
we're talking about alternate realities today.
It could be.
It's like,
Could be.
did you want to have a little bit of that?
I would love to have a little bit of that.
Yeah. So I
Do
decided
some quantum jumping. Go ahead.
What? What's
Quantum jumping. That's where you jump into another universe. I'm a rock star over in that other universe. I want to tap into that and pull it over here.
I loved Quantum Leap, the show.
Yep.
That was a great show. That's a good one. Anyways, so we're doing kind of an organic, vegan, not really, episode where I gave Jamie about 6 questions this morning.
She says she did, but they never came through. So in my defense, I just read them. But I do like this approach, though, because she knows how I'm just not brainy. And if it's organic, then I'll just talk, and make stuff up, and it'll be fun. It may not be true, but...
Yes, that's funny. Yes. Just randomness that Jamie puts out there. Yeah. But I wanted to talk about theoretical realities in our writing and what happens when they become less theoretical, more reality. So when your sci-fi or your dystopian type situations or whatever start to become more discovered reality, how do you sell this book? What types of books are like that? Like, let's talk about these types of books and even our own books that are that way.
I want to steal your own thunder because as soon as I hear that, I immediately think of Crystal Gate, Four Rivers, and our discussions. And I said, you need to write a nonfiction book on this about the pyramids and these lines and aliens. And then recently, they've been all this talk, and maybe you could help me with links, Carissa, because I'm not for sure, but we're seeing all those. They're saying there's pillars that go down
with
beneath
spirals.
Yeah, and the spirals underneath the pyramids. And I just want to correct, because now you know how AI is throwing everything out there. I want to make sure I grab the right articles or the right videos that's factual. So you come across any of those, you said, because I've been seeing them pop up everywhere. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah,
torsion theory.
It's torsion energy. Yeah, it's so, and that is what I was excited. But then you get overwhelmed. You're like, wait a minute. You know, I wrote about this back in 24. I mean, it was in my fiction books, and then I brought it out because MUFON said you need to write a book about this. You said I need to write a book about this, and I worked with Dr. Samir briefly on some of my theory, because he had found the Bosnian pyramid, and he kind of speculated that there was torsion energy under those pyramids, to where he even gave me, here's this guy here in Serbia. He is an expert on this torsion energy. Like, talk to him too. And he actually was very helpful. And I have his name. It's Serbian, and I can't pronounce it properly to even give him the justification he deserves. But when I was writing the nonfiction Before the World Was Lost, I had this theory that if there's a pyramid here, wouldn't that energy be pulled all the way through and go to the other side? Yeah. So I have maps, like images and stuff where that works. So it's like I'm trying to remarket this book based on what has been found.
I swear to you, I totally forgot this until you brought it up just now. In the Crisis Artifact, which I wrote in 2008, which is fiction, there was pyramids in that. Like, there was a pyramid out in the ocean underneath, but it talked about how if the pyramid was there, directly through the earth on the other side, there was another pyramid. And I just made that stuff up. Yeah.
Right. So that was my thoughts. It would be one on the opposite hemisphere, directly on the opposite side, but it would also be on the same northern or southern hemisphere, be on the same, that hemisphere on the opposite side. So you would get it at 2 points. You get directly beneath and directly the opposite on the same like that same side.
Then it makes me wonder, those what is wrong with me? The spirals and the columns, and they say they go down I forget
Well,
how
so
far.
that's the thing with torsion energy. Torsion energy is like a single, it looks like a DNA strand, except for the single helix. So it's got the spiral effect. And the thing with torsion energy is it's a positive negative. So they're pulling the water and all the different things that we really don't fully understand what is at the center of the earth. So there could be all kinds of like energy and magnetism, torsion energy at the center of the earth as well that is being pulled from with these pyramids.
They got to start researching other pyramids around the world and just check, because I'd also like to know the columns, the length into the earth, the width, the diameter, the spiral. I wonder if they all match, if they have to be a certain length diameter. They got to line up.
And I think at the end of this video you'll see there will be a little link to the YouTube video that I did. It's called God's Wi-Fi, and it's talking about building the pyramids to create a Wi-Fi tower, because theoretically torsion energy is something that is so strong that even going through another planet, the energy doesn't break down. So torsion energy can go through another solid surface and not break down. So it's almost like building pyramids at the very top. It makes the energy source a lot stronger. So that's what we talk about in that. But I thought this would be a great topic. So what happens when you write something theoretical that's kind of like, this is kind of crazy. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, this might not be so crazy because now we have evidence. And I gave a couple questions. So we're just going to talk about these. So what are some of the sci-fi or, alternate reality skirt type things on reality that have become reality?
This is a movie, though. There was a movie called The Island, and the actress who plays Black Widow was in it, Scarlett Johansson. And I remember this one scene, they had a table, and it was like a television screen, but she would touch things and drag it across. So I'm like, wow, it's a big computer screen, but they're not using a mouse. All she's doing is move her hands. I'm like, that is crazy. That's never going to happen. That was before iPhones and iPads came out. So I remember,
like the touch screen types, like the tablets and things
yeah.
like that.
So like in 2010, I was in New York filming a television station or a show, and somebody had an iPad there. I'm like, what? That's just like a mini version from the island. They're like, no, dude, try it out. And I'm like, there is no way that you can do this stuff with your finger on a screen. Technology.
Pause. Question. Is your recording device on some kind of thing that follows you?
Probably.
Because when you're moving up and down, that's where the screen keeps changing.
Does it move now?
No.
Okay, it was. And I was blaming you. I didn't seen it. I didn't even notice it because I'm so small. But then I was like, oh, shoot. That's why when you're like, you're not center, Jamie, you're not center. That's because I can't stand still. And it was following me.
It was
stupid iPad.
Sit in your seat.
Yes.
It's like your first grade teacher all over again.
Don't give me flashbacks, because that's exactly what happened. So
I believe it. Absolutely believe it. Your parents said, your parents came to parent teacher, and the teacher's like, can we have Jamie sit in the hall?
Yeah, because he's just rocking, he's moving, he's up, he's standing up a seat, he's down. You
needed a bouncy ball when you were
I did. I need one now.
There you go. Add that to your office.
I'm going to have a bouncy ball for a next one. Now you'll be like, what are you doing? Wait a minute. Yeah, I won't do that. That's
hilarious. Like you were talking tablets. I mean, they did those in Star Trek too. Then there's the video calling. Think about Space Odyssey, things like that. We talk about Back to the Future a lot when we talk about things that existed back then that we think should be existing in the future. What is it, that Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Yeah, they had like an AI assistant. Let's see. I mean, it's space travel in general.
I mean, look at Terminator. I just saw something not too long. There was like in Japan, and they had a robot, and then it attacked somebody in the audience, and they had to shut it down. Yeah. So, we're getting to that point. Before long, you'll have AI and robots, and they'll just do whatever they want.
Yeah, I'm like, that's the thing. It's always like when people, it's kind of when they're like, oh, we found amber and there was something in it, which scientifically, you cannot take and pull DNA from a mosquito in amber. You can't do that. That's total fiction. But when you jokingly say, look at the wolf they just brought back, you are messing with things that it's like there's a reason these things don't exist and maybe we shouldn't bring them back. But it's the same thing when you see
Yeah,
robots in movies that are taking over the world, that you're like, maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we should just still keep our robotics submissive.
yeah, and that's I mean, I'm not going to say it's scary, but like our author John Bender with the Pigeon book, he's been working with a team of scientists, and they're working on DNA to bring back this extinct carrier pigeon. And
Really.
same thing with the wolf, and they're doing it with sheep, and who knows, they could be doing it with dinosaur DNA. I mean, that's a conspiracy theory. We'll have a
Yeah,
Jurassic Park.
the funny thing will be when they bring back dinosaurs and all of a sudden they come back with feathers and things like that, and they
I
don't
just
look
want them to bring
anything
back
that they thought they
Prince.
did.
Prince. I didn't mean to say it like that. Prince. Elvis wouldn't be
So
bad.
you want to bring back humans now, not an
Yeah, I
actual.
need Prince back. I need some more music.
Well, isn't there like a vault of all his music that's
Yes, I
forever?
know. Who knows? I'll be dead before they release it all. I mean, there's dozens and dozens of albums on iTunes now. So Lotus Children, I mean, all kinds of stuff that you can, or Lotus Flower, all kinds of stuff you can get. Okay, back to surreal reality, whatever this one's called again, ancient technology.
Well, the original question was, do you feel like the sci-fi writing has influenced progression in technology? So
Oh, absolutely.
do you feel like some of the things that they did in this back, like with Star Trek and
Yeah,
Space Odyssey and
laser
all these,
guns. Look a lot. They can do concentrated laser now and shoot it and burn holes. So I've been waiting for lightsabers to appear. So yes, forever we've always wanted to be in the sky. In books that we've written, or authors have written in the past. So the imagination, it's if you can imagine something, you can design it, and that's where it starts.
yeah. But I mean, I also feel like aside from sci-fi, dystopian type stuff, even where things
Like
get to a
Handmaid's Tale.
yeah, well, yeah, that is an absolute yes. But like even greenhouse gases and essentially the world comes to a point where it can't sustain humans anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
And we could very well be leading that way, or it would be an apocalyptic world. Who
yeah,
knows what every day holds with the nuclear plants and warheads. All it takes is one crazy person.
yeah. But with that said, so if that becomes a thing, so if you're in, this is a side question. If your reality becomes, if your alternate reality becomes a reality in everyday life, does your book sales go down because people don't want to be a part of it anymore? They want to escape that typically, right? People typically want to escape their current reality. They may not want to read about it. So how do we?
I don't know. I mean, think about it. When the pyramid thing happened, like it's all over the place, and that's what I'm saying. You got all these nuts out there who are going to put out fake stuff, and I'm like, so I'm searching through all trying to find legit videos and all that of it. So I'm interested. So if there was a book out, and there is, and you wrote it, I would be interested in reading. I'd want to know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it depends on your personality. I can see both sides. Some people wouldn't want to run away from it. Everyone's into zombies. What if that happens? It almost did. I don't know. There was this drug years ago
It was the
called
bath.
Crocodile.
It was the bath. I thought it was the bath salts that did
Oh,
that.
that was that too. Do you remember there was a man in Florida and he went nuts and
There's always
he
been in Florida.
he attacked somebody and started eating them.
Oh,
Yes.
I mean
So
that's an everyday thing in Florida, right? That there's always a man in Florida.
yes, yeah, a gator that's chemically enhanced by all this junk they're dumping in the swamps, and that's where Sharknado and all that comes from. No, I don't know, making stuff up now. But I'm not saying he was a zombie. But you know what? When I read that, is like looking back, I'm not joking. I was never into Walking Dead. And I remember about the bath salts and the crocodiles more where your skin was falling off of you, so you look like a zombie. I was like, man, that's kind of weird. And I seen a commercial for Walking Dead. I was like, I gotta watch that, because that stuff was in the back of my mind. So you never know, or like there was one talking back to the Crisis Artifact fiction series I wrote. We had this almost like drunken Indiana Jones type character, Caesar Guevara, and they were down in South America and they discovered this temple hidden in this, I forget where we placed it, but in the middle of the jungle. Nobody knew it was there. Boom. And I remember Daniel Middleton, my old partner from Scribe Freelance, called me, says, Jamie, did you see the news? I'm like, what? He said, they discovered a temple just like you described in the area you were talking about in South America. So I was like, no way. So I'm like looking at it and reading. I had to run back and read my book and compare. So I think if an author had a connection like that, I would run with it. I would make a dozen videos like, hey, I'm Chris and I wrote this book and da 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 da. Guess what's happening underneath the pyramids? You want to talk about torsion energy? Bam. And watch your cells increase.
Yeah, I need to get on that, but I've been really bad about that because I haven't been so busy. And it's one of those things
Me too.
I would love to go on other podcasts that talk about these kind of things. Because I remember that was a thing you and I talked about was I was getting my stuff time-stamped.
Yes.
Making sure my theories were time-stamped. So I had my theories time-stamped in like 2014.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Actually, I can't remember if it was even early. It might have been 2012. Either way, I time-stamped it with a blog posting, and then started pushing it. And then that's when MUFON had reached out when I sent them the information, and then they contacted me a couple times, and then wanted to talk to me on the phone, and then like, you're onto something, and I'm like, oh, I just figured everybody knew this. They're like, no. It's always interesting. It's always interesting.
Yeah, and it always comes back around, so it is the perfect time to do it. But yeah, I think any fiction book is a possibility, because anyone can create an idea, whatever it is, a laser gun, a lightsaber, a time machine. And once that thought's out there, somebody is going to look at it and be like,
how can I do this?
Yes, is this possible?
How can I recreate this? It's almost like looking at someone's artwork and saying, how can I recreate a Picasso? Well, they study it, they figure it out, and then it's the same with technology in shows and all that stuff. It's like, well, how can I make this happen? Yeah.
Yeah, even some of the trains they've been trying to conceptualize, that don't actually have the wheels on the tracks. Magnetically, they just run across the top of that the monorail.
That would be really scary if it got too hot and demagnetized something.
Yeah, but think, where did that come from? Land speeders, or Back to the Future, where you had your skateboard that didn't have wheels.
Your hoverboard.
Yep. Yeah. And we're having some. I mean, of course, we have the hoverboard now; it's still on wheels. But I've seen the jet propulsion thing that you can be out on the water. So
yeah, well, I've seen them do it on land too. They have them on land now.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Oh yeah. So I mean, we've talked about a couple of things, but I mean, there's some stuff in writing. There's one that Carl Sagan wrote, the demon haunted world. It's like a pseudoscience and like scientific thinking type of thing, but it literally speculating like humanity's future, and some of these things are kind of coming to a blend. There's a lot of writing, I feel like, out there that is borderline once fiction and is now nonfiction, if that makes sense. But what are some of the books that you may have read? I don't want to talk about something in writing. What are some of the books that you may have read in the past that you're thinking that's today, but you read it years ago?
Man, I want to take a quote from Charlie Romans, we recently interviewed. That's a tough question. I can't think of anything, because I live in the world of fantasy, and I do see a lot of these videos, I'll read, or my wife's really into books on fairies, and then I see a lot of these videos, even before AI, like, look, I found a fairy, and da-da-da-da-da, and I'm like, oh, I know it was manipulated, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I wonder if there's just like one real video out there, and it's showing this, and elves and fairies.
Have you ever wondered, though, some of the fantasy stuff that they have, things may have been, I mean, because sometimes people are like, oh, this stuff was based in reality. But we've got so far away from like that realm of the world that we don't see that stuff anymore.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to call me crazy watching this, but I could be totally into that and open to it.
Mm-hmm.
We know so little. I mean,
Oh
here
yeah.
we're out, and what freaks me out is like, oh, we landed on the moon, we're on Mars, and it's okay. What about our planet? They say they haven't even been to the deepest parts of the ocean.
We don't even know the real core of the Earth looks like, or
Yes,
there's
because what
theories.
did they just recently, Carissa? They were talking about, wow, we found an ocean or like a big water deposit so far down in the Earth's core.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's, I've seen that in fantasy books in the past.
Well, and that is a factor in torsion energy. So when you have water and you have Earth, you have that positive and negative charge going when they layer, because we know the Earth has layers. So when you manipulate those layers, or I shouldn't say manipulate, when you piggyback on those layers, sometimes pyramids will have like, not necessarily the pyramids in the desert, but a lot of pyramids like the one in Bosnia, the ones over the pyramid, like the ziggurats in South America, Central America, a lot of those have waterways underneath of them,
Mm-hmm.
which seems weird. Why would you have water going under your pyramid? Well, because you're tapping into that positive, negative, positive, negative. Because positive water has a positive charge and Earth has a negative charge, and those two opposites keep it turning. And so you get this helix effect, but it's just the single helix, not the double helix like DNA, that creates that strong, and it kind of wraps itself with the magnetic field.
Well, that's why you see, I saw this one video of a guy, he took copper wiring and a single helix, and he would do it like a stake, and then you have a helix, and he put it into his garden,
Mm-hmm.
and like the tomatoes, and he's like, look, you can see these tomatoes here. Look at them over here. What's the difference? These are huge. They're juicy. They're more
Yeah,
red.
the coil itself, and the tighter the coil, sometimes the more strength is in. It's almost like you're yeah.
Yeah, because I see people. They'll do the wind. They'll even wind it up. It'll be like a flat disc, and they'll put it in not amber, but what is that stuff you can pour and it hardens? You know what I'm talking about?
Resin.
Resin.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so this is a writing podcast. We have books that we've written on things that are, fringe realities, and yet some things are starting to come to pass and whatever. But let's talk about how we would market these things. We've mentioned, like videos and stuff like that. But some of the things I was thinking about when I was writing this question was knowing your target audience, in a sense, like who's into that stuff, who's going to connect with me, because not everybody cares. Not everybody knows anything about the backstory of pyramids enough to even care enough that you found something more. So knowing your target audience, your age, their interests, like that's key when you're trying to push your book.
Well,
And
especially if you're running ads, you'd have to get really tight niche. But I could even see you like not even reading a paragraph from like Crystal Four Rivers, but like open the book and then it closes in on one paragraph that talks about that, and then it's like, and then all of a sudden a flash to the pyramids with the with everything underneath. It's like, and this was over a decade ago. Coincidence? I think not. Learn more.
well, and so, and that's another thing is we've talked about this before on social media, building your brand, building who you are as an author. So when people go to find out who you are, they can find you. You may have this, but can people find you? I don't know. What other things can you think of when it comes to putting yourself out there in these key points that we need to look for when it comes to getting these books noticed when someone's...
Well, I think you actually gave us one earlier. You have to do some research, and with ChatGPT, you can research anything in this day and age, but be really precise on your prompt and say, "Hey, I'm looking to appear on a podcast. here's my book, here's what it's about. So I'm searching for a podcast that will particularly speak to this. Can you list at least, 10 in America or, 50 around the world or whatever? And then you have that contact information. And then, of course, you'd write a query letter to send it in to get them interested. And that's one way to get it out there. Of course, you said building your Instagram or your Facebook or your YouTube or your TikTok, whatever it is that where you want to focus for your book. You have to build your brand. We
And
know this. I'm
yeah,
lazy with, go ahead.
I am so lazy with that too. And it's really hard because, some people do it so well, but the key is when you find those videos, when you see these pyramid videos, look at their hashtags,
Yep.
look at the words that they're using specifically, titles, and that will help a little bit of discoverability. Like that will help you write social media posts that maybe fall into that same algorithm. Because so myself and two others, friends of mine that I play video games with, for the most part, 5 out of the 7 nights a week, we constantly send each other reels about our video games throughout the day. And ironically, one will send me almost the exact same things that the other one has sent me. And sometimes when they send me like, oh yeah, I just watched that last night. Like we are seeing the same content because yeah. So it's the same idea as if you use key points of your word usage, you're going to fall into that same rotation of reels, same rotation of people finding you.
Yeah, and if you're doing that too, and you develop that again, because we love AI, use ChatGPT because like, hey, here's 3 videos that I found on this subject, and their keywords were this. Here's their titles. Can you locate me others in this row? Because you may need to watch a dozen or more videos to learn more hashtags that suit you. Because the one thing, and I may be wrong, because I don't do a lot of marketing like this. My team does, but they do try to vary the tags. They don't constantly use the same tags. I've heard like, hey, that can affect if you're using the same 10 tags again and again and again and again and again, it's
Yes.
not going to work.
Well, and I mean, so you can use hashtags that increase visibility, but at the same time, your word usage that you're putting in the actual description
Yes.
is also very key. Those are also picked up by AI and pushing that through to other people.
And I think that's how it should have been in the beginning. I mean, I'm tired of searching for hashtags. Just write a captivating paragraph, that explains it and pulls them in and has all those keywords embedded in it
Mm-hmm.
is the simplest solution to me.
And this is more of a budget friendly thing. I was thinking, like, sometimes if you're like, okay, I got about $50 to spend, that's my budget. You can go on your social media and you can set a budget and you can set your parameters like, oh, I want it to hit this, or I want it to be a wider parameter, but it's going to spend less a day.
Yeah.
But if you shorten your parameters, it's going to spend more, like it's going to spend more to get it out to certain people. And you can isolate it to the people in this age brackets, this type of
Yeah,
demographic.
your genre. I mean, even though it's something that's come to reality, you can still do that. You can mix and blend
Mm-hmm.
that. But yeah, and you just got to look, where are my key readers going to come from?
Mm-hmm.
And with pyramids, might not just be the United States. Maybe you want to, hit Bosnia, Egypt, Japan. They found them, in the ocean off the edge of Japan. So, look at where you could pull readers from.
Yeah. Also, something I recently discovered that would be good, which I haven't done this myself personally, but using Google Ads. Yeah, I mean, these are more budget sensitive situations where you have to know your budget to be able to utilize them, and sometimes authors are kind of tightly restrained with that, so it's not as easy to do that. But if you can look at your finances and be like, you know what, I can spend $50 a month, maybe say I'm going to put that $50 back for maybe 2 or 3 months and spend $150 and widen my
Yeah,
my
and you really got to decide the platform you want to do this on too. I mean, maybe you want to do it right on Amazon to push if you're just doing it on a Kindle book, or is Instagram your thing? TikTok's really good. Of course, you have to be making those videos.
Mhm.
Google Ads, of course, we've used those as well. So
Yeah.
there's so many possibilities.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And also that bringing up Kindle, if you have ownership of your KDP, and you're not with a publishing company, go back in there and revamp your word usage, your keywords and things that you're doing to be more relevant to the time frame. change it up because people might be searching those out more now, and so you might want to replay those out.
Yeah, we've played with this. I mean, you really have to look at the times,
Now
what's
we have an
changed.
episode. We have an episode if you're looking on how to do KDP and some of your word usage. Go listen to that episode. So community engagement. This is something that I was thinking about. We've talked about, but like getting on to groups specifically for. It doesn't have to be a book group. But specifically to the reality that you're skirting on. If there's a group on torsion energy, go join a torsion energy group. If there's a Lost City one, go join that.
That's a great idea. Just when you're there, don't show up on day one and be like, oh, by the way, I got a book on torsion energy. Because
Yes.
then they're like spam, you're out of there. But I'm telling you, if you get in there and you're engaging and you comment on others' posts, they're going to go to your web page or your Facebook page, wherever you're at for this group. They'll be like, oh, I want to friend this person. Oh, they got a book out. Somebody may even ask you about a book. That's happened to me many times. Oh, you're the guy who wrote Raise Your Voice, da 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 da. And then it opens it up. Or I've been on Instagram and commented on some random singer, like, wow, that was really fire. They just appeared in my feed. I've had singers follow me immediately, message me and be like, dude, can you get me into lessons? I just had this with, I won't say his name until he wants to mention it, but a really big TikTok star. And so it works. You just have to engage people without being a salesperson.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of overwhelming. And that's, I have a lot going on. I wish I could afford to just pay for someone to do all my advertising and, push stuff. But it's just one of those things. It's like, and I used to be very good at it in the beginning. I would push and whatever. I feel like when Canvas comes out, I'll be a lot more whatever. But I do need to work more on making my stuff visual and it's like, just got to get in that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I made the other Instagram page, and I've got all these notes. I got this right here. I could start filming every day. And, there's tons of stuff that we could talk about to promote the podcast, to promote the books. So, just got to be engaging. You got to get out there. Now, some people watching like, oh, I see you out there all the time, Jamie. Yeah, because I have a team. And that's what Chris is talking about. It's tough sometimes to do by yourself, but you have to do it. With my Dr. Vox team, I fly, film 100 pieces of content, and I'm good for 3 months. So think of it like that. Start planning this. Like, I have to do it. You don't have a big camera, so what? You got an iPhone, right? You have CapCut, or there's a VN editor or some other programs. It's easy to do in this day and age.
Yeah. Something else, like thinking about these skirts of reality. One of the questions I pose in here, what do you think hooks people or drives people or draws people into books that are kind of like on that fringe of reality? What do you think people are drawn to?
I think it's because it's the possibility of what if. It could be, they have the meta masks now that you can be in VR and play. And I actually got one. I didn't want it. My mom bought it for me. I bought her one for Christmas because she wanted it, and she had to return the favor. But I'm telling you, it puts you in another world. It's insane.
Well,
So
yeah, it's almost like escapism, in a sense too.
yeah. Or what if, everyone's always buying the latest weight loss drug or, magic mushrooms to make your brain calm. There was that movie years ago. I don't remember what it was, but he took a pill and then he had like his intelligence like
Oh yeah,
quadrupled.
was that with Mel Gibson or something? Or
No,
no, it was the guy who played Wolverine, right? Nope.
no, I know what movie you're thinking of, but that's not the one I'm talking about. This guy was in The Hangover, but he was also in that movie with Gaga,
Yeah,
Lady Gaga.
Bradley
Yeah,
Cooper.
Bradley Cooper. And so I watched that and was like, damn, if they made pills like that, I'm all for it. I would buy it. I don't care what the price is. I want it yesterday. I get
The damage it does to my brain.
Yeah, I just want to get some stuff done. So when you come up with a new idea like that, or like, so many concepts we had, like the big tablet table, people were like, oh my gosh, how that could make my life easier. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all seeking for. What can help me market? What can help me lose weight? What can help me be in a positive attitude? How can I make my life easiser? So
Yeah, what can help me escape my current reality?
exactly. You want a different reality. So when you see these reality tools that haven't existed yet, but they're close, you're like, oh, I want one right now.
Well, and something I thought about, because I was thinking about fantasy. I like fantasy to watch it. I don't read it, but I like to watch it. For me, it's not an escapism thing all the time. It's more of like, I don't know, to a safe space to explore your inner like desires of, wanting vampires to exist, or even fears or desires, I guess. Your safe space to be a part of that world or whatever. You're not going to get killed by a vampire. You're not going to get hexed by a fairy. But it's a safe space to feel like you're a part of it.
But
Does
yeah,
that
I mean, that's why I read fantasy, or that's why I watched Underworld. Even
love it?
though I don't want to really be out there being a werewolf fighting a vampire, get killed, it's like, that would be cool though. I can feel myself being pulled into the movie and being a character. You get
Yeah.
involved and you forget about, oh, I gotta go to work every day, and I gotta deal with the kids this morning, and oh, I forgot I gotta go to the grocery. No, you're living an you're quantum jumping. You're in another reality, and you're excited about it.
Yeah. Um, Something that, of course, the world in chaos currently, but you think about like the fears and scenarios of past dystopian type situations becoming a reality, and you're like, oh, what are these? You're almost like it's a study guide now. Like, what did they do to survive?
And no kidding. And
I
this
was watching.
happens again
Yeah.
and again. I watched this Battlestar Galactica, the new series, which is like 10, 15 years ago, if not longer. And they went through all this, and some of these humans were actually the Cylons. It weren't these robots. But when you came back around to where they were, like a new society was starting on this dead planet, it was like, oh my gosh, we've already went through this before. Yeah, we were, we're millions of years old. Cylons say, we destroyed the planet. Now we're back to where we were, where it could happen again. So I read this morning, somewhere in Arkansas or something, a coal mine or somewhere in the United States, they were digging, and they cracked it open, and it showed it was a metal pot. And they're like, there is no way
How'd
a
that get
metal
in?
pot. Yeah, how did it get there? Because coal takes,
Well, yeah, because
millions of years.
it would defy the timeline of humans and the
Yes.
timeline of what the recycling period of geology, which I've always had a theory, even when I was studying geology at ASU, the timeline in which things move and where they exist, because that's how they have a kind of a timeline on dinosaurs, is based on where they fall in the layers. But what if that timeline's not accurate? What if that timeline's wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
Or we will. Maybe we will.
Yep.
That's the thing. Maybe if that's a reality that will come true, be like a lot of times with carbon dating is changing because they're looking at things from a new perspective, because now we have a little bit more macro management of like the details. So looking back we have more detailed things of history. We have a better understanding of languages. We have a better understanding of this and that. So you start putting those things together. Now let's go apply it to what we used to think. And now let's re-examine this. And you never know. Things just like we used to always think that dinosaurs all had,
Big teeth.
well, yeah, but like they were all reptiles in a sense. But potentially they could all have feathers. We wouldn't even know.
Yep.
Some could have been furry. We wouldn't know that. We could assume they're all reptile skin. But some of those might have been really cute and cuddly, just with big claws.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. I wish we had this database that we knew, and
That
we're
we could
like,
tap
wow,
into.
the world is 1 billion years old. We only thought it was 6,000. So there's so much. I know it's smack for that, but
Yeah. But it does create this extraordinary like sense of wonder, I feel like, that keeps us going in a sense, when we're on that search of purpose. But
yeah. Well, even when people read fiction books, I think they're in that moment they're wanting to believe it's completely real. So when
and
things do
sometimes
happen,
I feel like sometimes, I mean, I know you'll agree, sometimes people take it too far in their believing of its reality. Um there was a guy they were interviewing on one of the satirical media shows, and he was like, if you were to talk to this guy, you would absolutely, other than the topic, you would think he truly believes this, and it wasn't like he was talking like a lunatic. The content was ludicrously. It was the way he talked was just pure normal, average guy, didn't look disheveled, didn't look homeless, didn't look like he had any kind of like problems in real society, like functioning. Until they asked him a question, he's like, "Oh no, we're already living on Mars. We're already on Mars. Like we're already living on Mars. This is this, and this is reality. This is a different reality." I'm like, "Oh, you look normal." And
Yeah.
then yeah, so
Yeah. There was a movie, a made for TV movie back in the 80s. I think it was, might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was called Dungeons and Dragons, and Tom Hanks was in this. And so they played the Dungeons and Dragons game, and he got so lost in there was like a cave in the area where they lived, and they'd actually go in there and play out. And at the end, like he almost killed somebody. He thought he was fighting somebody with a sword, and they're like, you realize, hey, I'm mentally ill. I've taken this too far.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so that's the negative side of some of the things with that with the alternate reality sci-fi dystopian situations is when we read sometimes it's almost like it could be anything can be good and anything can be bad. But anyways, it's definitely cool when your writing becomes relevant in less fictional, I guess. I think
yeah.
that's kind of
And yours is there right now.
yeah, I gotta jump on the bandwagon and start doing things. I just don't like to be on video by myself. I like to have a co-star.
I'll make you a deal. Of course, I'm sure I made you deals to get my next book done, but when you're ready to start,
Listen up, people. Here it is. Here it is.
we'll start pushing and doing these videos together. I'm ready whenever.
Okay, sounds good to me. We'll start doing them. We'll do them like before we record the podcast.
Yeah, well, I need more time than that.
Oh,
No. I mean, in the morning, I'd take a whole day. Like, I'll do it on Monday for like 4 or 5 hours. If I
oh
got to
wow.
do it in the morning, it'd be like, because I get in a video like, hi, I'm Jamie, and I start cussing because I mess up a line and I refilm something 16 times until I'm happy with it.
Got it.
But the really cool trick, and you watch everyone do it, it'd be like, hey, cut, cut. So you're cutting out all the dead space so you could screw something up and just edit your video. And that's what I start doing now. Just much easier.
All right. Well, maybe I'll have to do that. Well, until I do that, and our listeners want to find more about us, you can go to alwaysrightpodcast.com. You can go on the little icons there. You can listen to us on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and you can listen to us on YouTube or watch us on YouTube. There's 2 options. And if you have any show ideas or you're interested in anything about our books that deal with skirting on reality, you can reach out to us at alwaysrightpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll get back to you, or I'll get back to you in a timely fashion. And then as far as that goes, this has been a good episode and hoping to have feedback later on about my book whenever I decide to make videos.
You gotta go buy it. You'll be surprised. I'd buy, if it were me, I'd buy the fiction books and the nonfiction
You've read it like 5 or 6 times.
Oh, you know that.
Mm-hmm.
You've had to listen. You probably told your hubby, oh my God, I wish you'd shut up and make me quit writing more. So
That's funny. All right. Until next time, thank you for listening. I'm author Karisa DeLay.
And I'm author Jaime Vendera, and always right.
Yes.
Yep.